Good morning, Bethel College. My name is Dr. Jennifer Chappell-Deckert, and I am the Social Work Program Director here. I'm happy to introduce this special event on the first day of National Social Work Month, March 1st. Today marks the first Ada Schmidt-Thiessen Social Work Lecture. Dr. Ada Schmidt-Thiessen taught social work at Bethel College for 35 years. In honor of her contributions to the college, the Social Work Department will invite a scholar or community practitioner to speak in convocation on a topic related to the core values of social work, which are service, social justice, dignity, integrity, competence, and human relationships. Ada Schmidt-Thiessen received her bachelor's degree in social work from Bethel College in 1974. She graduated with her master's degree in social work from the University of Denver in 1981. Her third degree in social work came from the University of Kansas School of Social Welfare in 2004. Her dissertation was entitled Walking the Tightrope, the Role of Resource Parents in Concurrent Planning. Ada's academic interests include child welfare, social work in disasters, social policy, and practice. Her practice experience was in mental health, programs for elders, and people living in poverty, as well as administration. She taught 13 different social work classes during her tenure at Bethel, perhaps most notably the Skills for Human Services, where she coached and mentored hundreds of students in the art and science of interviewing, deep listening, and meaningful connection with clients. Congratulations, Ada, and thank you for all the donors who contributed to this lectureship in your honor. On behalf of the lectureship committee, which was made up of myself, Ada's daughters, who are also social work graduates, and a social work student representative, we're pleased to announce today that Jataim Taylor has been awarded this inaugural honor. Jataim Taylor is a graduate of the social work program at Bethel College and is currently the director of the Front Porch Alliance, in a nonprofit organization whose mission is centered in education. The Front Porch Alliance walks with residents on the east side of Kansas City, providing wraparound services to parents and guardians who have enrolled their children in early childhood education or out-of-school programming. Though Jataim has only been with the organization for 3 months, she is working to build relationships with clients, partners, and funders on behalf of the most vulnerable population, children. Jataim also serves on the boards for the Habitat for Humanity Kansas City, Vibrant Health, and the Kansas City Food Policy. Please join me in welcoming Jataim.
The Eagles Who Thought They Were Chickens by Michael Wynn. In the beginning, there once was a great king who ruled a vast kingdom. He was a wise and compassionate king who had earned the love, admiration, and respect of the people. Perched at the right hand of his throne was a great eagle. Each day the eagle would soar through the clouds. As the great eagle flew throughout the kingdom, the people would look up into the sky with pride as the great eagle symbolized the greatness of the kingdom. It was a land rich in natural beauty and resources. The people were full of pride, possessing a rich culture and heritage. But one day invaders came into the land and there was a great battle. The kingdom was overthrown. The people were captured and the great eagle was put into a cage and placed with people aboard a ship. The great eagle, who had only known freedom, could not live in a cage and would die during the Middle Passage between Africa and the Americas. However, before the eagle died, she laid 3 eggs. Upon the death of the eagle, a shipmate went to the captain and said, "Captain, The great eagle has died. However, she has laid 3 eggs. The captain laughed and said, "Ha! Put the eggs in with the chickens." The captain knew that this great eagle was the last remaining symbol of a once strong and proud people whom he had captured. Her eggs would be hatched and raised as chickens. They would become a symbol of the captain's conquest. In the chicken yard. After the ship completed its journey, the eagle eggs, together with the chickens, were taken to the chicken yard. A short time later, the eggs hatched. 2 boys and 1 eagle girl was born. The chickens laughed at the baby eagles. "Ha, ha, ha! What ugly chickens! Look at their big heads and short necks. Look at how long and out of proportion their wings are." The baby eagles were the object of constant scorn and ridicule by the chickens and were made to feel ugly and inferior. Not knowing the greatness of their culture and heritage, they walked throughout the chicken yard with their heads down, feeling that they were indeed dumb and ugly chickens. Another eagle is captured. The ship made another journey, and another kingdom was overthrown, and another great eagle was captured. However, this eagle survived the Middle Passage, and when the ship returned to America, the wings of the great eagle were clipped, and he was thrown into the chicken yard. But the spirit of the eagle was not broken, and he flapped his wings desperately, trying to fly. The eagles laughed at the frustrated efforts of the foolish, ugly chicken. The chickens laughed at the eagle, saying, "What are you trying to do, you dumb, ugly chicken? Chickens can't fly." But the eagle responded, "I am not dumb, I am not ugly, and I am certainly not a chicken." The eagle turned to the other eagles who thought they were chickens and said to them, "We're not chickens. We have come from a land rich in history and cultural heritage. We were not born to walk like chickens, but to soar through the clouds. We are the symbols of a great and proud people." He then turned to the chickens and yelled at them, "Be quiet, you foolish chickens." The chickens were frightened by this bold and arrogant chicken. They ran to the roosters and told them of the confusion that this ugly chicken was causing and how boldly he had spoken to them. There were 3 roosters who reigned over the chicken yard. When they heard of this arrogant chicken, they went to the great eagle and demanded that he be quiet, stop his boasting and causing so much commotion in the chicken yard. But the eagle spoke boldly to the rooster, saying, "How dare you call me a chicken? I am an eagle." The roosters were shocked at the boldness of this ugly chicken and immediately attacked the eagle. With his wings clipped, the 3 roosters were too much for the eagle. The roosters pecked and clawed the eagle until he lay on the ground beaten and defeated. The roosters and chicken laughed at the beaten eagle. One of the roosters turned to the other eagles and said, "You dumb, ugly chickens had better not cause any trouble, or the same will happen to you." The eagles who were afraid of the roosters bowed their heads, turned, and walked away. The great eagle eventually dragged himself into the corner of the chicken yard where he lay beaten and defeated. The chickens continued to scorn and ridicule the eagle as he lay there day after day. One day in the chicken yard. One morning as the chickens came out into the chicken yard, they noticed that the great eagle was no longer lying in the corner. There were all sorts of commotion as chickens and the eagles who thought they were chickens wondered what had happened to the ugly chicken. When the roosters heard that the chicken whom they had beaten was no longer lying in the corner of the chicken yard, they began crowing. One of the roosters asked, "Where is that ugly chicken? If he's causing trouble again, we'll have to teach him another lesson." At that moment, one of the chickens pointed to the top of the yard fence and shouted, "There he is!" There, perched atop the fence, was a great eagle whose wounds had healed, whose clipped wings had once grown full. One of the eagles shouted, "You dumb chicken! You better get down off that fence! Chickens can't fly!" One of the roosters shouted, "You dumb chicken! We're going to teach you a lesson! We're going to teach you a lesson this time!" One of the eagles, who thought they were chickens, shouted, "You better come down from there or you'll get us in trouble. Come down." But the great eagle simply ignored the demands of the chicken and the threat of the rooster. He turned to the eagle. "My brother, we are not chickens. As I told you when I was first brought here, we are eagles. We are descendants of a strong and proud people. Ours a history rich in greatness and cultural heritage. We're not born to live or to walk as chickens, but to soar into the clouds. Come with me, spread your wings and fly." The great eagle spoke with power and authority. The boldness and convictions of his words touched the spirit of one of the eagles, who lifted his head, spread his wings. As he flapped his wings, he lifted a few feet from the ground, but became frightened and fell back to the ground. The roosters and chickens all laughed at how foolish and arrogant this great eagle was to tell these ugly chickens that they could fly. But the great eagle spoke again. "Trust me, my brothers. Come with me, my sister. You can do this. You have the power to soar into the clouds." With this encouragement, the eagle flapped his wings again and soared above the chicken yard. The chickens and the roosters were speechless. With wonder and surprise, they could only watch as this great bird, who had only known shame and ridicule in his life, who believed himself to be dumb and ugly, now soared high above the chicken yard with pride and newfound dignity. His wings were indeed beautiful and strong. The young female eagle didn't need any more encouragement. She simply started running as an airplane goes down a runway, flapping her wings. She soared into the sky, full of pride and grace. No longer a dumb, ugly chicken, she realized her brilliance and beauty. The great eagle turned to the last remaining eagle and said, "Come with us. Believe in yourself. Just spread your wings and fly." But the last eagle lowered his head and said, "I cannot. I am a chicken. Chickens cannot fly." The great eagle understood that despite his potential, the last remaining eagle had lived in ridicule for too long. His spirit had been broken, his self-esteem had been crushed, his self-image had been destroyed. Never knowing the richness of his culture, the brilliance of his people, or the land from which he had come, he did not believe that such a place existed or that he had the power to fly. The great eagle spread his massive wings, and like an eclipse, his shadow covered the chicken yard. He said to the remaining eagle, who was steadfast in his belief that he was a chicken, "I will pray for you, my brother, that one day you will come to understand the richness of your culture and heritage, that you too will join us, for our destiny is in the skies." With that, the great eagle flapped his wings and soared with beauty and majesty into the sky, where he joined the other two eagles. "Come, brother and sister, we must journey throughout this land. There are many eagles who are living as chickens. Their wings have been clipped, their spirits have been broken." Since that day, eagles have been soaring throughout the world, helping others to believe in their beauty, their brilliance, their potential, and the extraordinary possibilities in their lives. Greetings. I am honored to be invited to be the first speaker in the Ada Schmidt-Thiessen lecture series. I come to you as humble as I can. Thank you to Dr. Jennifer Chappell-Decker and to Ada Schmidt-Thiessen and our family for this opportunity, as well as to Bethel College. This is the first one for me, you all, lecturing via Zoom without an audience present. If you only knew how many times I've restarted this recording. I pray for each of your families, for your loved ones, that everyone is doing well. I pray for those who are not doing well, that your healing, your strength, and your peace, that you have those things. These trying times have had many of us take a seat and prioritize who we are, who we want to be, and how we are choosing to show up in space. I am Jataim Liddell Taylor. I am a 2008 graduate of Bethel College, who since then, and even before then, has spent my whole life and career within social services. I've worked with churches, communities, nonprofits, and have had a ball. My sweet spot is with the little people. We will talk about them more shortly. Again, I am Jataim Taylor. I am the daughter of Carol Yvonne Bagby Terry, who is the daughter of Evie Jean Alexander, who is the daughter of Augusta Boykin, who is the daughter of the one we so affectionately called Big Mama, Arbella Brown. I cannot say that I've only existed in this world with the matriarchal family that I just named and called. My father had something to do with me being here as well. And he also had a creative way for expressing himself through my name. He's the one who named me Jataim, which is French for I love you. But the full meaning of my name is actually something that can invoke a conversation. My name meaning, I love the version of me that is in you. Thanks, Dad. I'm not quite sure if I will ever ask him this question, but I will want to start asking you all these questions. What would life be like for my father? Just think and imagine if that is all he saw was just the version of himself. Not thinking of the matriarchal lineage that I just spoke of and named, not the quirkiness that makes of me the tree hugger gardener who loves to people watch on Saturdays at coffee houses. So today we will be talking about I am, showing up in a changing world. I will be talking to you and giving you some points of how I see we will take these next steps in life together. I have spent my career working with children, and that is why I started with the children's book, The Eagles Who Thought That They Were Chickens. That book has always been something tender to my heart. I still recall reading it out and having kids act it out. But allow the presentation of not seeing children running around acting out scenarios. But let's look at this a little deeper. Let's look at the three eagles that were in the story. Three archetypes. One being one born into a world taught by others who did not know his history, culture, language, customs, put in a system that reinforced what he was taught, and he assimilated. He did not know or think that he was anything other than what was told to him. The second scenario is of an eagle born into a world taught by its community, the history, culture, languages, and customs, put into an unknown community, dragged in there, and taught something different. Beaten down when he said he did not believe what the status quo was saying. Had his wings clipped. He was beaten down and was able to rise stronger than he was before by bringing others along. The third scenario, an eagle is born into the world, taught by others who did not know the culture, history, and language of that, his lineage. He was in a situation reinforced what was taught to him, exposed to a belief that he had never known. The great eagle was telling him, hey, you're not a part of what is here in this chicken yard. You are something else. You have a history that is different than this. 3 scenarios. 1 where someone assimilates or they believe what is told to them and follows that belief. 2, someone was taught and remembered who they were in a situation that seemed very unfamiliar. 3, someone was taught to assimilate, to ignore and not ask questions, but then later on was told something way different and believed it and took a step out on faith. We will explore which of those scenarios would be you, or have you been? Before, when I first came to Bethel in 1998, I actually went in thinking I would be a sociologist. I love studying people. As you heard before, I definitely love people watching, in the cool way, not in the creepy way. And I had to leave. I had to leave midway through my college career to take care of things that life presented. And I came back to find out that there was no more sociology degrees. There was social work, though. I am so glad that I had that opportunity because that is how I met Ada and Larry, who were definitely great to be around, to know people who live and embody servant leadership, who live and embody community care and thought, and who are so knowledgeable that they're able to teach the next generations. I'm forever grateful. Well, as a sociologist, Everett Hughes once said, he was talking about that we all have a script in some way, a way that we show up in the world. And that way in which we show up in the world is like, for him, called the master status. He said it is the most important architecture in our being of the individual identity, whether it's ascribed or it's achieved. So that would mean in the story of the eagles and the chickens and the roosters, Hughes would tell us that in this scenario, that whatever title you are given, whether it's ascribed or achieved, that is who you are and who you will be and how you will present yourself to the world. Later, Miss Kimberly Crenshaw, a law scholar, wrote something in 1990, or actually 1989, where she was talking to us and telling us, at that time there was the talk of feminist and who is a feminist. And Crenshaw shared with us that Black women in this country who were feminists had a different approach or a different lens in which she looked through. And she was looking at, she said, because the intersectional experience is greater than the sum of racism and sexism, any analysis that does not take the intersectionality into account cannot sufficiently address the particular manner in which the Black women are subordinated. She wanted to make sure that when Black women stood in the space with other feminists, that race as well as gender were also acknowledged simultaneously in that cross, that intersection. We are continually talking about this thought of identity and who we are. I would like to see how folks have shown up throughout our history to open the conversation up further for all of us. Throughout history within institutions, we have something very much similar to what Crenshaw was saying. There are multiple ways in which we show up in the world. In 1968, Memphis sanitation workers were on strike talking. It was in response to the death of sanitation workers, Nicole Cole and Robert Walker. These men were pronounced dead because of unsafe conditions. And so the folks went to the streets with their signs and verbalizing that I am a man. They had to walk around to let others know that they are men. They are working. They're putting their lives on stake on behalf of the community. They had to carry these signs to profess, to show, to acknowledge, or have folks acknowledge, I am a man. In the 60s, during the civil rights movement, the ways we've had various ways in which we had to bring about intersectionality within the 60s. It can be found with a great servant leader, Miss Ella Josephine Baker, who in the 60s was a part of was a catalyst for so much of the work, but being a behind the scenes organizer was not really credited. Not that she would want to, if you've ever read anything by her. In her book, Ella Baker in the Black Freedom Movement, Ms. Barbara Ransby tells us about the work that Ms. Ella Baker did in co-founding the Southern Christian Leadership Council, SCLC, by also helping with the behind the scenes with the Student Nonviolent Committee, also known as SNCC. Her work, could you imagine showing up as a Black woman in the 60s with most of the civil rights movement having Baptist preachers all around you? And I grew up in the Baptist church. I was very pleased when I've learned about the Mennonite church. It's a calmer presence. But in a Baptist church, to have a woman who is organizing around group organization, who's trying to flatten a system and making sure that the hierarchy that is strong within the church no longer exists, but who's pushed aside or not being able to be heard except for by the young people. The young people allowed or accepted her into their space. And there was this symbiosis where she was helping and they were helping, and they collectively did great work on the behalf of our country. These are ways in which our history, that people showed up, showed out to let folks know who they are, what they stand for, and what they dream for the next generation. Sometimes truth is something hard to digest. My favorite pastime is actually reading Afrofuturism books. It's been hard this last year because so many of those types of books I enjoy the dying world and creations are too close to home at this moment, but I hope that I can get back to reading my favorite genres, Afrofuturism, science fiction. Because I know sometimes it's easier to digest fiction, I'm going to share a few of the authors I love. One being Miss Octavia Butler. In The Parable of the Sower, she tells us about Miss Lauren Olamina. That's her name. She's a 15-year-old girl who is living with her stepmother and her brother and her father, who is also a pastor. She's living with them and she's being taught by the church, but she sees within herself in her newfound religion, Earthseed, that God is everything and everywhere. And she, along with refugees, travel to find a place in which they all can thrive, a place where they all felt that they didn't have a tie in this world or in the world of where the world is dilapidated and encrusted and the environment is not clean and civilization has become so corrupt and greed and corporations and money. And this is the world she is trying to flee to make something anew, something where not only her, but her friends are trying to create something together. And so Lauren is trying to make this anew. She is someone who looked at the world from before and started saying, I see it differently. I would like to make it be different. And so essentially she started getting ready to create her own world within all of the chaos. Many of us may do that in our own walks of life. I'm just retreating, saying this world is no longer for us. I need to slow down. I need to be in nature. I need to hide. These are all ways that, without judgment, are just ways that we choose that we will show up. Whereas others would like to do nothing more than forget, or sometimes they may break of trying to figure out, how do I fit in this society? So much so that they don't know what's up or down, in or out. They don't remember in a story lineage that is in a particular order. They seem disheveled. In Toni Cade Bambara's book, The Salt Eaters, she talks about this, where the protagonist is Velma Henry, and she is in an infirmary where she keeps like having spots of memories of, I remember cooking, I remember laughing, then I remember car crash. And she doesn't know what is happening because it seemed like the frame of her life, how she had it projected, has somehow split up, has somehow not formed the chronological order that we remember things. She doesn't know, am I going crazy? Am I sick? Is this a dream? And she goes into an infirmary and waits until healer comes to heal her from whatever she is suffering with. What I appreciate about this is that many of us do in life want to say, take it away. How I show up is that I need to erase or let the bag go of something that I was carrying because I can't carry that right now. There's a line in The Salt Eaters where the healer asks Velma, who at this point is exposed, like in one of those hospital gowns, and feels like her behind is out and just don't know what she can grab onto. The healer says, "Are you sure you want to be well?" And of course, the woman, Velma, is like, "What kind of question is that? I'm not sure what's happening to me. There is something. I feel unnerved. I feel everything. I want to not take it away." And the healer says something like, "It's a lot of weight when you are well. It is a lot of weight when you're well." She later goes on and explains why. She says, "Our society is hurting, and if we do not acknowledge the language in which we all know how to talk, pain, you will be alone." So she's asking Velma, the healer is asking Velma, are you sure you want to be well? Because you will be alone, as our society is focused on talking and speaking on how our pains are related. I started off with the story of the eagles who thought they were chickens because this story is about identity. This story is about remembering, acknowledging, and how we listen to that which is around us, what we take in. At some point in our life, each of us has had to play multiple roles. Whether you're the sister, mother, grandma, greatest cook, vegan, queer, bald, whatever you are, whatever is prescribed in traits for you or ascribed by yourself, that which you are. We've had multiple roles. And in our multiple roles, just like the eagles who thought they were chickens, we may have others come to us and tell us, "Wait, you don't fit me. You don't walk like me. You don't have wings like me, but you're with me." And they would want to push you out. You have others who may welcome you in and just say, "I don't know who you are or what you are. We look different, but if we have the same goal, I will stick with you and you me." There have been some who's like the later story that I told you in the Salt Eaters, who life has shaken them up so much that they seemingly have fallen and don't know who they are anymore and are lost. Some stay that way and others rise and become something new. In this changing world that continuously shifts and changes, we need to make sure that we ourselves know who we are. Who are you? And once you know who you are, ask yourself the question, how have you or will you choose to engage in our world? Thank you.